Good evening. I want to bring up another topic. This is probably the most common question I hear on the group. How do I meet a trans woman? So, uh, I want to start off by talking about my observations about the different flavors, attractions that are directed towards trans women from men. It's actually not so much of a challenge for a man that sees a cis or a trans woman as no different. And so I'm not really going to address that as much on this video. Instead, I'm going to focus on the men who are trans attracted, transamorous, specifically men who are attracted to trans women with a lady cock. And so what I see is that on your side of the journey, you go through porn and you develop the attraction, and then you want to make your first connection or encounter by getting on a dating app. And usually it's directed or advertised specifically for dating a trans woman or a lady boy or one of the other terms. So, but here's the thing, that those porn videos were made by other men like you who told trans women what to do and how to act. So their behavior that you're expecting is going to be completely different from what the real world is. And so that's the first area of confusion uh, when things start happening. And then what happens is you get onto the dating apps that are focused around dating trans women, and then you find out that trans women are interested in taking your money or not going to be loyal. And then you feel like they're like all trans women are impossible to date. There's always something going on. That dating world on those apps is only a segment of the trans community. And so I do want to talk about the cyclical effect I see. So a man, cisgender man, gets on the dating app that's focused on trans women. He's interested for sexual encounters. He's only interested in having sex or experimenting, and when he wants to try a trans, right, which is really disrespectful for that saying. Trans women get on the app because they want to discover love, and they find out that these fetishizers are interested in their bodies. What better way to get back at the men than to take their money? And so sex work happens, and so this whole cycle goes of trying to learn how to love one another. And so it turns into this objectifying and then taking the money, right? And so this area is not what the trans community is about. There's definitely a lot of vulnerability from the trans woman side because most trans women are just trying to survive. They're looking for money to transition and to build, stabilize, and then that. There's a lot to be talked about in that scenario, but I want to focus the next step like around the actual like the trans community as a whole. So from my point of view, whenever I came out, I was dealing with shame and fear. I was looking for community support, and so I started networking with other people like me. Well, what happens is we get together, we are able to overcome our shame for our self-identity, but then we start talking a lot because when it comes to finding love, we're hearing about all the situations online about trying to find love with men, getting rejected, and being fetishized. So there's this whole stigma that's been built up from the dating apps, and so that's where that hate comes from. Is just from the constant cycle that you see on the dating apps, and it just feeds itself. So. Now that you're aware of both sides, I want to talk about the subject of blending. So the term blending means for a trans woman to appear like a cisgender woman. She's gone through some sort of physical transition, and she's now not being addressed or misgendered or recognized for her transness, but rather she's recognized by her womanness. And here's the thing is the majority of the trans community do not have the luxury to be able to go through these surgeries, and so they are visible, right? And so, but it's very clear that men are going to be visible, and they're going to target the women that have gone through all the surgeries that look like like supermodels. And, well, there's a lot of women who've done a lot of self work on themselves that have not had those surgeries that could use the love. And so, one of the arguments I hear oftentimes is, little, I don't want to date a trans woman that hasn't had surgery because I want the femininity. But the truth is, for the men that like a woman with a cock, there's also an acceptance in androgyny. She is a woman, but you're finding androgyny attractive. So this is highlighting the real issue is shame and knowing what it'd be if you were to be out and open with a visible trans woman. And so this is that dividing line. It's as simple as that. If you do want to open up the gates, it's all about self work and addressing your shame, highlighting the fear, what's stopping you from able to meet trans women in your local community, and accept that your friends or family might know what you say out in public if you pass a compliment to a trans woman. Regarding actually meeting women like me, I actually do not recommend apps that target trans women, right? That's going to feed into that transactional behavior. I'm actually going to suggest use a common app like Tinder or OkCupid, and on your profile, mention that you're inclusive to dating trans women. Talk about trans rights, put the trans flag on there. You'll be surprised. It might be frustrating because you might meet trans women that are post-op and there's incompatibility. But hey, like, what would that hurt to meet another great human being on your search for your lover? And for considering all the things we're going through, there's no rush. We're all working through our shit. And so it's probably best that you meet a few trans women along the way that you don't settle down with. So just think about it. And recognize that it's more than the physical. It's more than just the one night stands. It's more than having the trophy wife. There are women in your backyard, in your neighborhood, in your city, in your state, sitting down right now on their sofa, alone. They're holding on to any sort of hope because every time they reach out to a man, there's always some sort of excuse. And the truth is, it's about the shame. It's easier for a man to date a trans woman who's blending so they don't have to announce it to the world that they're attracted to a trans woman. But here's the thing. If you are out and open, you just tear right through that fear. And I know a lot of us, like, I don't have that luxury. My family, they'll disown me. Love wins, I promise you. We all go through our battles, and we're going to lose some, but we have community. And we're here to love one another. I love you.